Osas, let me come to you. InterSwitch, yeah? Literally one of the giants in our payment space in Nigeria, which has invested in infrastructure. Can you let us understand how InterSwitch is looking to interact with small businesses? What are the portfolios that small business owners can look at, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, partnering with InterSwitch?
Okay, thank you very much, Nedu. Like rightly said, at InterSwitch, our focus is providing digital solutions that helps to empower our community and businesses. Over the years, we have been able to, in a very good way, when other people didn't see that vision, we're able to create infrastructure that has enabled payments in the economy today. And one of the things my MD prides himself with is the fact that for every major player you see today in the payment space, there's hardly any of those players that InterSwitch is not today powering. So we have moved beyond just providing those infrastructure in payments to now begin to provide infrastructure in energy by building forecourt solutions today across the various filling stations. And we have a strategy that covers health, energy, real estate, transportation, and social services. And basically what we're trying to do is to replicate the successes that we achieved in the payment space today, which has given birth to the likes of the Paystarts of this world, the Flutterwave of this world, to also see how we can provide infrastructure in all these other real sectors that would also enable small startups to also leverage that infrastructure for growth.
So let me take this a step further. Do you have sandboxes in these spaces that would enable small, young developers get in and build solutions in partnership with you right now?
Okay. Currently, for payments, yes. For the various other spaces, is work in progress. Like I said, we have a plan around it. It's our heart strategy. We're now trying to deliberately begin to build those sandboxes, like you mentioned, to be able to bring these startups into play, where they can now use broad platforms that they can now leverage to now co-create and build other things on that. So that's part of our plan, basically.
Okay, because the reason I asked is, we have a lot of issues plaguing us. I am coming to you. As a country, there are heavy conversations we have, and I mean, I'm sorry, I'm apologizing to both of you, but nobody wants another fintech. That's the truth. Because you would admit that everybody is literally doing almost the same transactions. We're all connected to the same people, the same disco, the same MCN, the same. So Ayo, let me bring this to you. Being a product developer in the fintech space, what is the plan? I mean, we saw when there was an attempt to move Nigeria cashless, yes? And we saw, just like when we got mobile phones and there were kiosks where you go to make phone calls, we saw the rise of POS outlets. So the question is, in the fintech space, what is the next step? Because for people who are in agriculture, for example, retailers who go to, in this part, they go to Waterside to buy fish. They go to Brass. Those women and men in those islands do not have POS terminals. So people who trade with them literally still need to carry cash to those places. So in the fintech space, what is the next step to extend digital payments to that point?
Okay, thank you so much for that very, very powerful question. Also, thank you to the organizers of this event. It's my first time in Port Harcourt, and I'm really surprised at the scale of this event. It's rivals any event we do in Lagos. So I'll pick it from three different points quickly. The first is embedded finance, right? It means that for every product, for every sector, because value is equal to quote and unquote, right, monetary return. There is the need to find a way to embed finance in what you are doing. So what we will see going forward is a number of products, a number of founders in different sectors. We'll start looking at how to close the ecosystem, right? So you're creating an ecosystem where you know that the trade and everything you are doing, from logistics to sourcing, to distribution, everything will require money, one way or the other. For the farmers in the rural areas, when they are done farming and they harvest, they can't eat the food, they can't eat the produce in the rural areas. You have to bring it in. Transportation has a financial aspect to it. So with time, we'll see that there's this embedded finance part of it. The second one I want us to pay attention to, we don't yet have a lot of fintechs. We don't have enough fintechs here. Let me just say something. Now you may not believe me, but let me just tell you this. Okay, let me just tell you this. Before now, we know the top banks, United, UBA, First Bank, GT Bank, and all of that. In the last decade, you've had the likes of Premium Trust, Providence, Taj, Jay's Bank, and some of these banks, maybe Jay's is a little old, but some of these banks keep springing up, right? But they make their money, they bank their customers, and they have quotas that they must meet. If not, they'll just, sit there and just say enough of what you are doing. So it means that whether we look at it like that or not, there is still a big gap that will keep being filled by fintechs. Now, let me give you an example. The people who deal with shares, our parents, they bought a lot of shares, right? Growing up, all I knew was, I have shares, my parents had shares in First Bank, they had in this. When it came to our time where you're not really interested in shares until recently, when companies like Bamboo, RiceVest started doing all of that. But we will see something that for every young one that is here, they will have at least one fintech app on their phone, right? Let us look at young ones that are 5 years below the age group here. They will also have fintech apps in some years' time. Except if we are saying we will not give back to more children, and we are saying that, we will not have any other person, we will always need it.
Okay. So let me go to Chimene now. You play in the crypto space. My question may be a bit sneaky, right? It's exciting. People are buying tokens, buying gift cards, and all of that. You guys are trading. Is there a future you see in Nigeria where that sort of service could become a token for the woman who's selling fish somewhere in the hinterlands, and you can link it with fintechs for trade?
Thank you very much for that question. But before I address that question, I think we need to start from demystifying the crypto space in Nigeria, because we have this notion that crypto, to a large extent, is used for pyramid schemes and Ponzi and stuff like that, right? So crypto is a tool. So what happens is, if you have a tool, it is malleable, right? So you use the tool to build stuff. Now, talking about this, the first thing now is in terms of movement of funds. It will be easier. Let's say if you build the collections, right, on the crypto rail, it will be easier for them. Now, we are battling devaluation, loss of things. The market woman in that place, she doesn't have access to USD. But if she's transacting and she wants to hedge against Naira, losses for Naira, right, she can actually off-ramp from crypto and move it to USDT easily, without her knowing how it happens. But she knows that, if I'm making this transaction, I can easily take this money in USDT, but she's receiving NGN. Simple. Now the second one would be, like you mentioned, about the fact that we are seeing lots of people diving into the fintech space, downloading fintech applications and stuff like that. So syndicate financing, right? What most people know about crypto is buy and sell. It goes beyond that. Now, if I want to make it easier for people to invest, although the regulation would not allow us for now because of SEC, but they are working on something, RDP program, right? So when that comes, it will be easier for cryptocurrency companies to actually offer syndicate financing. What that means is retail financing. 10 of us will come together, pool our funds. I bring 1 million, she brings 500,000, pool our funds, we have 10 million, and they will pick a company that we can invest in, and there's transparency, right? So I don't have to think about, what is my shares here? I just go to the blockchain, I'm seeing that, I've gained like 20%, 15%, it's easy. If I want to sell off, I can easily sell off. There is a ready market for that. So instead of me, so what will happen now is that it will be easier for investment houses, right, to use this to pool funds, and then they make decisions for us. They invest in the companies they want to invest in, and at the end of the day, there's returns, and everything is settled on the blockchain, right? So syndicate financing, that's another thing that we should do.
I love that perspective. Please, a round of applause, please, because it's just taking our minds away from I'm buying Bitcoin, I'm buying, right? Understanding what the value is. Which brings me back to you, Uche. Since the advent of the startup conversation and the lingo became commonplace, Series A, Series B, Series D, to the point that a lot of us got confused and stopped trying to understand which series, whether it was BMW 3 Series or 2 Series, right? Why did that become the norm for us to build a unicorn? Is it that the Nigerian business startup entrepreneur was afraid of going the route of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example? That's one. Number two, have we not understood also, like Chimenez broke down, that the blockchain technology, tokenization, is also a channel that could be exploited for fundraising for these small businesses or businesses in general?
Okay, so first off, I think we started. First things first. Why are we building businesses? You asked me that question in the beginning. The reason we're building businesses, in a nutshell, is to make money, right? Almost everybody in Nigeria is a business person. What I think is when push comes to shove, then we begin to question the type of businesses we're doing, right? Just say that almost everybody else is hustling. But if you're going to build real value, then you need to build substance. You need to be solving real problems, right? But at what scale are you solving those problems? Now, the reason the series became a norm is because there is a skill, there's a group of people, there's a generation that decided to do things differently. And that generation they have a prototype from Silicon Valley. They have people they're watching. They decided to do something differently. And they want to be able to build businesses that can grow really big. And they're in a haste to do that. And so, if they are going to get funded, a lot of the funding that was coming to them was coming from outside of Nigeria. It was coming from Silicon Valley, right? And that funding has a structure. A lot of that funding comes from people you call angel investors and VCs. Venture capitals is what VC is. And VCs typically will get money from people you call LPs, limited partners. Now, limited partners give money to VCs to invest in startups. Now, they are one layer above the angel investors. The angel investors will typically invest their own money and they are using their own experience to help the startups grow. But the first things first, they are looking for people with ambitious dreams, ambitious visions. They are looking to solve something really big, right? Now, that structure that we're discussing here has something to do with the timeline by which the LPs are expecting returns from that money. Typically, it's between 7 to 10 years. So whatever you're building must become really big within 7 to 10 years in order to be discussing exit. And what is exit? Exit is an ability for us to get to a point to build enough value that somebody else feels and sees the value and can pay more premium on that value. Right? And if they can pay more premium on that value, all of us who gave you money at the initial stage can exit and allow this person to take over and help you grow even bigger. Another reason is because we need to create wealth. Just recently, I think it was 2 days ago, Ted Cabal published a story how some people, some founders, not founders now, some early employees of Money Point became billionaires by virtue of trading their shares, the shares that they got from the beginning. They became billionaires, just ordinary employees. Now that's the kind of thing that every startup is trying to create. The ability to create billionaires from normal people. And that's what's happening in Silicon Valley. Energy just did the same not quite long ago. The startup in Abuja. So when you talk about those series provide the opportunity for this kind of transactions to happen. You understand? So that's why those series happen. Now, why are we not going the route of the normal Nigerian exchange? It will not provide us that type of exit. The Nigerian exchange is still not very liquid enough to provide that kind of exit that the startups are looking for. But I'm aware that a lot of work is already being done. The current CEO is doing a lot. I know that they're trying to convince Flutterwave, for instance, to list part of their shares on the stock exchange, right? So a lot of work is being done. But I think in the end, a lot of us need to begin to rethink the type of businesses we are building. Yeah. And I think that's where we need to start from.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Uche. I wish we would have more time for this conversation because there's at least another 10 questions that I'd have loved to ask. But nutshell is infrastructure. First, why we build, how we build, and what we are building on are things we've looked at. Then managing that structure, holding what you've built on, right? I think these are things we've looked at today on this panel. Hopefully, like we discussed, was mentioned yesterday, we will continue to have these quarterly sessions where we can extensively discuss these topics under the platform of the Port Harcourt Tech Expo. I think I'm at liberty to take 2 questions from the audience before we wrap this up, so that the last session of the 2025 edition of Port Harcourt Tech Expo will come on stage.